Welcome to Fredericksburg Mission, a podcast talking all things mental health and wellness in the Burg. Brought to you by...
How do you shorten the time it takes to buy a car? Car buying just got easier. Pohanka365.com lets you complete as much or as little of the car buying process online. Pohanka365.com. Car buying simplified. Anytime, anywhere.
Welcome to Fredericksburg Mission Podcast. My name is Angela Rivers, and today I am here with Kitty Melerski, co-founder and president of the Downtown Dolls, a social pinup club that does a lot of charity work here in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's so nice to sit down with you and talk with you and see you in person, which is great. I see you doing so much in the community, and I don't really have an opportunity to talk with you. So I appreciate it.
Always running around.
Yeah, that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Yes.
So let's begin today's podcast by just telling the community what the Downtown Dolls does.
Okay. So Downtown Dolls, we are a pinup themed social club. We do a lot of charity work in the Fredericksburg area. We do volunteer work as well with some of the local organizations. We chose to be a pinup club versus something very specific because a lot of the girls in the club, they have certain organizations they like to work with. Some are really big about animals, some are really big about vets and children. And so that kind of gives us the opportunity to play to everyone's strengths and what they want to see, thrive in the area.
Yeah. And when was it founded?
So we were founded in June of 2019. And we've just been around for almost 2.5 years now.
Yeah, right before the pandemic.
Right before the pandemic, yes.
How was that, navigating a pandemic when you're operating a new social club?
So we got a pretty good start, pretty strong start. We had a lot of things planned for 2020. We did get a couple of those events started, but right as we were starting to really get rolling with things, everything had to be canceled, of course. Mm-hmm. But we decided to try and come up with virtual fundraisers, virtual things we could do. So we're still engaged with the community, still trying to do things for the community, not just kind of stepping back and letting the pandemic, take that over.
Yeah, definitely. And then how was trying to get money from sponsors during a pandemic? Was that difficult? Or?
Yeah, it was a little difficult. We weren't really looking for sponsors because at that point in time, we hadn't been running our own events that we would need sponsors for. So a lot of it was direct donations to the organization. Somebody shows us proof and that gives them a ticket for a raffle, or, or they donate to us directly for a raffle or our pie-a-thon. And then we get the money to the organization that was raising money for.
And what kind of events have you done?
So virtually we've done things like Draw Your Pet, fundraisers for like SPCA. We've done gift card raffles virtually, raise money for Bobby's Pitbull Rescue for that. Our CASA, we've done events for our CASA. We did a trivia night one night where we hosted a trivia night at what was Spencer Devon Brewing. We've also done a luau. We've done pie-a-thons 2 years in a row. Those were pretty popular. We're going to keep doing those every single year. And so anybody who doesn't know, the pie-a-thon was where people pay to watch a pinup get pied in full hair, makeup. The public really loves it, and they really responded well to it. So that's definitely something we're going to be doing every year.
Yeah, and then you also did the pie-a-thon with business owners.
Yes. So we try to change it up a little bit every year. The first year it was just once we hit a certain tier, you got to see one of us get pied. And then we brought in some local people that are kind of known in the area to also get pied, once a certain tier was reached. This year we did more of a group pieing. So once that first tier was reached, we got all in an assembly line of all of us together and just kind of pied each other on video. But that was a lot of fun. And then the one piece of this year's pie-a-thon that we're definitely going to keep in place every year from here on out is the public pieing. So we were at Billikens for an afternoon, and the public could come pay $10 to pie us in the face. We actually raised a decent amount of money with that. And it was a lot of fun, and the people really responded to it.
Yeah, definitely. It was fun. I brought my daughter, and she loved to watch Maria get pied.
Yeah.
Now, every time we walk by, she goes, "That's where the pie was, right, Mommy?" And I said, "It was."
That's cute.
But it's nice that you're known for things in the area. You do a lot of great charity work.
Yeah.
And how, did you just wake up one day and say, I think I want to do this? Or was it like a collective nature of you and some friends? Like, how did the whole thing just get formed?
Well, for me personally, I've run a charity group at my job, my actual paying job, for almost 10 years now. It's just an employee-run, employee-funded nonprofit that we just kind of give money to the local community. But I work in Culpeper, and I don't live in Culpeper. I live in the Fredericksburg area. So I really wanted to give back in my area to the people that I live with. And I've always enjoyed a pinup style. I kind of got into it maybe 6 years or so ago, and went to car shows and pinup contests and things like that. And as I got more into it, I realized that in other areas of the country, there are pinup clubs. A lot of girls that I've met along the way that like to dress up and like, the whole style and everything. But there are other clubs that do charity work while, being in that vintage theme. So that kind of is what put that in my head. And I know a couple of the other girls that kind of co-founded the club with me, they kind of felt the same way. Like they love the pinup style, they love doing it, but they wanted to do more with it, and felt that charity work and doing community service type work was the right route for us.
And you don't do it with a car association, correct?
No, it's just us. We did throw a car show together this year for Father's Day. It was a school supply drive for Stafford County Public Schools. It's an event that is pretty synonymous with pinup clubs. They kind of go hand in hand. So that's definitely something we're going to look at doing again in the future, or being part of other car shows.
Yeah. And then do you model your organization, after anybody else, or did you do you all do your own thing?
So we always joke that we're like a pinup motorcycle club, because a lot of our guidelines and how to join the club are very similar to how you get into a motorcycle club. Not. So we have steps, basically. So you show up, you show that you're interested, you come, you see what we do. We call those girls runaround Sues, just kind of going in line with our whole like mid-century theme. And so they come to meetings, they come to events, they decide whether it's something that they want to put their time and effort into, something that they would be into, have time for. And that also gives us an opportunity to get to know them as well. And then we kind of vote them into a prospective pinup. So they're part of the club, but there's certain things that they can't quite do on their own, like they can't share events yet. Some things they can't vote on as being a prospective pinup. Once they've been at events and they've gotten a certain number of hours in, they've shown that they, have the whole style down themselves, they don't need a ton of help. That's when we move them to like a full-fledged pinup is what we call it, like a full-time member. So kind of like modeled after a motorcycle club, there's tiers
or sorority
and steps, or sorority. I think, there's that. So that's kind of our running joke within the club, is that we're like a pinup motorcycle club.
And then how many hours is it? If somebody was listening and wanted to join, how many hours of time do they,
so in order to be voted in, in order to be able to get a club shirt that says, Pinups with Purpose on there instead of the supporter shirt, you have to have at least 10 hours of time. It doesn't really take that long. I mean, you do one big event and maybe a couple other volunteers and you're there. One of the caveats of getting to be a full-fledged pinup from the prospective pinup slot is 20 hours of time, and then obviously showing that you got the hair and the style down, and you can potentially become a mentor to somebody else who's learning. So when we started, all the girls that started and co-founded the club, we already knew like pinup style and hair and makeup and how that all worked. A lot of the newer girls that we're getting in now are more really wanting to do charity work, and then saw like what pinup is and what it means and just fell in love with that. So it's kind of interesting to see some of the newer girls coming in and watching them kind of fall in love with the whole pinup style and how quickly they're grasping it, because it's where I was 6 years ago. So.
And what does pinup mean? I mean,
we just kind of model ourselves after like mid-century style, hair, makeup, clothing, just being a lady. Lady of the 50s, 60s. Yeah.
It's a totally different generation than there is today.
It is.
But it's nice, and I love the clothing.
Yeah. It's fun.
Yeah, certainly. Now you also are doing something, you're doing events all the time, but something new happened this year where you're releasing a calendar.
Yes.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay. So this was a labor of love. Our secretary, Summer, she took this on. It was a lot of work, and she put a lot of work into it. Her and our vice president, Mandy, put a lot of time and effort into it, and it turned out beautiful. We're super happy with how it's turned out, but it's a fundraiser for Ellie's Elves. So we're selling the calendars for $25 a piece, and 90% of that goes to Ellie's Elves. They help local families that are dealing in crisis, get through that, whether it's through clothing donations, food donations, helping them find furniture if they're moving, any possible thing you can do to help a family in crisis. That's kind of what Ellie's Elves does. They step in to do. So we've raised money for them before. We absolutely love Joni. She's great. A wonderful steward of the community. So we're more than happy to, do this for them this year.
And do you want to share any of the pictures with people that are watching?
So I will not be sharing pictures of the calendar. If you want to see the calendar, you do have to purchase one.
There you go.
They are $25. And if you just reach out to our Facebook page, Downtown Dolls, or you can email us at downtowndollsfxbg@gmail.com, and we can get you information on how to get yourself a calendar. But I will show, this is kind of a little snippet of all the photos in the back. What we did is we had a business sponsor each month, and then we had a local photographer donate their time and editing skills to each month's photo. And it's a beautiful product. It really is. We're super proud of it.
I think I'm going to need one myself.
Yes.
And how does, when you go about getting sponsors, do you find it challenging?
Yes, it can be very challenging. One of the biggest challenges we had is that this year was our year to get our official 501c3 status. So we started that process in February, got our SEC State Corporation Commission paperwork back pretty quickly. And then the next step was to go to the IRS, which they took that full 180 days, they tell you, plus some. Yes. So it wasn't until a few weeks ago that we actually got our official 501c letter. So that's been our biggest challenge, was getting sponsors, because we've found that a lot of businesses do want to sponsor and do want to do things for their community, but not having that 501c status official yet was kind of holding us back from that.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
You would think that people just want to give because it's the right thing to do, but
Yeah.
I didn't even take into consideration that.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges we've
So
had.
now that you have that, you should be up and raring to go, right?
We are. We're ready. We're ready. We're ready.
And how many events do you guys do within a year?
So when we first started, we were trying to look at doing one event a month. My long-term goal, and some of the other girls agreed with me on the long-term goal, was to get ourselves to a point where we're running 3 or 4 big events a year, and then maybe doing a little bit of volunteer time on our own in between all of that. We're slowly trying to move towards that. The sponsor thing is something we've been talking about recently, now that we have everything official and everything's ready to go. Next year we have our Pinup Prom that we're going to be hosting for UMFS.
Yeah.
There's some information coming out about that soon, so I don't want to give too many details about that, but we're pretty excited about putting that together. Again, we want to do the car show like we did. We did a luau last year, this past year in August.
Yeah. If you need a mermaid, I have a whole costume.
We did have a mermaid.
I know you did. I had to get a costume for the Y because you had a mermaid when they were doing a luau at the same time.
Yeah. So the luau was a lot of fun. It was a great turnout. We were super happy about it. So that's something we definitely want to look at doing again. Pi-a-thon, like I said, is here to stay. Everybody loves that. So it's just figuring out the right times of years for each of these events to do. And of course, we always help Billikens host their pinup contests as well, because that's right up our alley. So.
Exactly. And how much time does it take, to run all these events? If somebody wants to join the club and they're thinking, oh my goodness, I couldn't do this many events per year, are they required to attend every event, or do certain girls go to different events? And how does that work?
We always tell the girls, to do what you can. You're not required to be at every event, just like you're not required to be at every single meeting. We do have basic guidelines because we don't want it to end up being where girls never show up to meetings, because that is where they get their information. But we're not, you missed a meeting, you're out, that kind of thing. We give them the choice to be at events or not based on their family time, their work time, their school time. Like, we understand everybody has a life outside of the club. And we don't want to burn anyone out by forcing them to be at every single event. So, and a lot of our events that we have been going to, a couple of girls can run it by themselves, 2 or 3 girls. Some of our bigger ones, we do ask, all hands on deck. But even still, like, a few girls can't make it. That's not a big deal. We have about 20 girls in the club. So even our own doll run events is what we're calling them now.
Yeah.
10 girls is more than enough to cover that.
There you go. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
And then, is there in your bylaws, does it say you can only miss this amount or anything like that? Because what happens if people say, oh yeah, I've been to one, I'm not going to go the rest of the year. Like you see that a lot in clubs.
We do. And that's not what we want to see. We want the girls to be active and involved as much as they can be, not in everything.
Right.
But we still, we can't have girls that, don't come to any meetings, but just come to an event for a few hours, have fun, and go off. It's more than just being at an event and running an event.
It is.
It's planning, it's coming to meetings, it's all of that. But we're not super strict about that. Again, we get that life happens. We get that you have a life, you have kids, you have work, you have school, you have all these
the
other things that need to take precedence over, the club. But again, we also need girls who are willing to help and want to be part of it and do, put in some of the work. So.
And it's fun.
It is a lot of fun. Like the work is a lot of work, but at the end of the day, I'll give you a perfect example, the calendar.
Yeah.
It was a lot of work. And I cannot stress enough, like how much work Summer and Mandy put into this thing, and like blood, sweat, and tears, basically. And, once we had the calendar release party a couple weeks ago, that was also like, oh gosh, and what we did is we invited everybody who sponsored and all the photographers to have a breakfast with us. All the sponsors got a calendar. We got to thank them personally. And every single one of them that showed up was very thankful and was so excited about being there and being, us hosting the breakfast for them, which we were nervous about because we're like, is this enough? Is this enough? But, we had a great day that day and couldn't have been happier with the turnout. So.
And you have a vision for how it's going to grow.
Yeah.
Do you have a number of girls you'd love to see, like a certain number or a certain vision?
So one of the things we discussed when we first started the club was that we didn't want to be one of those clubs with 50, 60 girls in it.
Right.
One, you don't get that close-knit feel.
You don't.
And then, girls just start becoming a number. So, but we we need girls to be able to cover events and things like that. So 5 of us isn't not gonna pull anything off. So, we put our number at between 20 and 25. We're at about 20 now. Our meetings are now back to being open. They were closed for a while, just because we had some girls who were showing interest and showing up to meetings. And then if we had voted them all in, that would have put us at our number. So we closed them for a while, kind of weeded out the ones that weren't serious and the ones that were, and now our meetings are back open again for the time being. So
and girls can join at any time of the year?
So our meetings are usually held the first Sunday of every month. We don't hold one in December. We have like a club Christmas party instead. So our next meeting will be January 2nd. It's at Billikens Smokehouse at this point upstairs at 1:00 on Sunday afternoon. So anybody who's interested in learning more about the club or joining can come to the meeting. We kind of go over the guidelines and what we expect at the end of the meeting, and then kind of take it from there.
It's nice that it's on a weekend too.
Yes. So we were hosting them Wednesday nights. And then we kind of talked about it and we kind of moved into Sunday afternoon. So
it's easier, I think, for a lot of people.
Yes and no. There's pros and cons.
That's true.
To both.
Definitely. And then what is your big vision? You have little vision, here and there, but in 5 years, like if this could be anything, what would you want it to be?
So probably getting a little ahead of myself, actually quite ahead of myself. Again, my personal goal, and I think some of the girls are with me on this, is to have a couple of, a few events a year that our dolls run. Those be our main focus. And then, sprinkle a few other little things in here that we can help out with or volunteer time at, nothing that doesn't require a lot of work on our behalf. That will allow us to focus on those bigger events and make them bigger and better. At some point, I would like to do 1 or 2 things with the other pinup group that's in Virginia. They're the Hepcat Honeys. They're down in the Virginia Beach, Norfolk area. So they've been working on kind of getting their club up and running and doing a lot of the charity work in their area. And we had briefly discussed maybe doing some things together as clubs,
Yeah.
like in the Richmond area. So kind of bringing it statewide, but I don't want to say we're going to take our stuff statewide. We're definitely going to stay focused on the Fredericksburg area. This is our home to pretty much all the girls in the club, and this is where we feel we are most needed.
And did you grow up in Fredericksburg?
I moved here when I was a teenager.
Okay.
So I'm from North Carolina, moved up here. My parents are militaries, and I've been here since I was about 12, 13 years old. I did not like the Fredericksburg area at all.
Really?
For years.
Really?
Years. I didn't want to be here.
For someone that does a lot of community give back.
So what I have found is once I started getting into seeing the organizations in the area, seeing how like actual Fredericksburg people are with their charity, their giving, their, how they feel about their community and supporting their community, that's really changed my view on the area. I always saw a lot of the negative going on, but once I started seeing more of the positive going on, that really changed my view on the area. And so traffic still stinks.
Oh, it does.
Nobody likes the traffic, but I love the people.
Yeah.
I love the people.
The people is what does it for me.
Yeah. The community is absolutely here. And anybody who doesn't see it, you're hanging with the wrong people.
It's true. I mean, I grew up in Northern Virginia, and it's a completely different world up there.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And even when I moved down here, I didn't know how community-centered Fredericksburg was, until I started getting back into the workforce, and I wouldn't leave it at all.
Yeah. And that's basically how that happened for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of other doll organizations in the United States. Do you know how many there are, or just how many there are in Virginia?
Pinup clubs?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I know of 2 in Virginia. Like I said, the Hepcat Honeys and ourselves. Yeah. If there are any other in Virginia, I just haven't heard of them yet. Maybe I don't know if they maybe just a pinup club and don't do charity work or whatever the case is. As far as across the country, I couldn't even begin to tell you like how many.
So it's a thing.
It's a thing. It's a thing. It is definitely, I feel personally, it's bigger on the West Coast. There are some areas that are very car culture centered. So they have that car club thing going for them, and then obviously naturally the pinups, as part of that, or separate from that, but working together on that. There's a lot of areas that are very big on that car culture community. It's not huge here. It's here, but it's not huge here. Yeah. So that's why when we do things, some pinup clubs, they are very strict on it has to be pinup themed. It has to be mid-century themed. It has to be involving something to do with that style and time frame. Whereas us, we're more of a, let's add a little flair to this event that maybe isn't a classic car show, but we can fit ourselves into it very easily. So,
and then if there is a business out there that would love your support, do they just call you? How does that work?
Okay. So, again, we are definitely looking for sponsors for the swing or the prom. And then also for other events that we're going to be hosting next year. They can reach out to our Facebook page, Downtown Dolls. We're also on Instagram, Downtown Dolls FXBG. And again, our email address is downtowndollsfxbg@gmail.com. We do also have a website. Just recently got that put together. It's downtowndollsfxbg.com. And there's also a contact list in order to contact us on the website as well.
And what do you need from the community?
Really what we're looking for from the community is just support for what we're doing. We're going to be hosting calendar sales tables every weekend for the rest of the year. In various locations downtown. So if you just follow our page and take a look, we're either going to be at One More Taco, Italian Station, Billikens at various Saturdays or Sundays. Come buy a calendar, support Ellie's Elves. Also supporting the dolls, because 10% of the sales from the calendar do come back into the dolls so that we can do more events. If you're a business owner and you're looking to kind of collaborate with us on some local events for local charities, just reach out to us. We have sponsorship tiers that we offer. And of course, we put anybody who sponsors us on any of our materials for shows and events that we do. So
you do such great work.
Thank you.
Such great work. So I ask this question to everyone that comes on this podcast. At UMFS, we value our families, our community, our children, our team as being unwavering champions. What does being an unwavering champion mean to you?
That's a good question. So I feel a statement like that just means that no matter what adversity you face, what diversity you might face, anybody who, tells you can't do it or you can't reach that goal, put in the work. Just be unwavering in what you're looking for. Stand up, get it done, put in the work. It's out there. Like people will respond to it.
And that's how I view the Downtown Dolls.
Yes.
I mean, you guys do. You go in, you attack, you do what you're going to do, and you don't give up.
No, we don't. We learn a lot of lessons, and we try to take what we learn and make sure that any mistakes that happen or anything we missed out on doesn't happen again. So learning.
You could have just flopped during the pandemic, and you rose.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we refused. We didn't. We weren't ready to step down. We saw the potential. We saw what could be there. Just in the short time we didn't have to deal with the pandemic, and we knew that if we could just get through that and get our names out there and keep taking each step forward, we'd get somewhere. So
you did a great job.
We're super excited about it. We did a great job.
Yeah, I'm so excited for every event you guys do and everything I see you do in the community. It's so inspiring.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Well, Kitty, it was so nice to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate you coming on and telling us all about the Downtown Dolls, and I'm sure I'll have you on again.
Okay, absolutely. Anytime.
Thank you. And once again, if anybody wants to reach out to you,
email us at downtowndollsfxbg@gmail.com. Also, we are still helping fill the free pantries downtown. So if you'd like to make a monetary or food donation for that, just reach out to us. We can offer up pickup and drop off at numerous locations downtown and keep those pantries filled.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much. Yes, of course. Well, this is Angela Rivers with Fredericksburg Mission. Of course, if you'd like to learn more about becoming a foster parent, please visit www.umfs.org/foster. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us. I'm Angela Rivers with Fredericksburg Mission. Tune in at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or anywhere you listen to your podcast. Join us again next week for our next episode.
How do you shorten the time it takes to buy a car? Car buying just got easier. Pohanka365.com lets you complete as much or as little of the car buying process online. Pohanka365.com. Car buying simplified. Anytime, anywhere.